Will the aldermen please take their seats? Thank you.
Must be for you.
Good evening, everyone. Today is May 22nd, 2018, and this is the final night of the 2018-2019 Board of Aldermen budget deliberations. Will everyone please join me as we salute our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to come out of recess?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out of recess. Madam Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Alderman Anderson.
Present.
Alderman Beatty. Alderman Fortunati. Alderman Gaynor. Alderman Gurman. Alderman Giannatasio. Alderman Golden. Here. Alderman Grant. Alderman Hardeman is excused, correct?
Alderman Hardeman would like to be excused, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman Smith. Alderman Sutton.
Here.
Alderman Tranquilli. Alderman Vecchiarelli. Alderman Vitro.
Here.
Alderman Vitale. 14 present, Mr. Chairman.
14 present. We do have a quorum. Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'd like to at first read the thank you notes we got from our two aldermen. First of all, this is from Michael Casey. My husband and I would like to express our gratitude for the thoughtfulness and flowers, and your kindness brightened his spirits. Thank you very much, Michael Casey. The other one is, thank you so much, and thank everyone for signing the card that we got recently. Definitely a keeper. It put a great big smile on my face. Thank you again, Marty Hardeman. Thank you, everyone. Tonight is our final step in the budget process. I'd like to thank the mayor, the department heads, the finance director and his staff, as well as the Board of Finance, Dr. Fieser and her staff, and the Board of Education. I'd also like to thank the members of the Board of Aldermen who have put in many hours and days considering this budget. Each year we need to do the hard work to understand all the needs and wants of each department as well as the 54,000 citizens in Milford. The board needs to find balance between our citizens, students, and senior citizens and adopt a budget that's in the best interest for the entire city. At this point, we will start our deliberations with the first departmental budget, Board of Aldermen, on page 14 of the budget books. Alderman Vecchiarelli, please begin with the Board of Aldermen budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope that all the aldermen have the paperwork that I believe the mayor handed out. And there's be a motion with several questions. If anybody chooses to ask for the motions to be separated, just let us know. But other than that, I make a motion to approve the budgets for account 4111, the Board of Aldermen, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $6,205. Account 4112, elections, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $105,000. Account 4115, registrar of voters, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $166,149. And lastly, account 4116 MGAT, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $22,250.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Karen.
Alderman Fortunati.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to amend the MGAT account 4116 with the following changes. Account 41890001, Government Cable Service, increase by $3,000 to $23,950 for a subtotal of $24,550 and a department total of $25,250.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Through you to Alderman Fortunati, to the proponent of the amendment. Can you please share with the members of the board the purpose of the amendment?
Sure. Through Mr. The Chairman. When Cara Flannery spoke to this board about MGAT, she expressed a little bit of frustration over the inability to cover some board meetings, some commission meetings, and she was questioned as to if she had additional funds, whether or not that would help, and she gave the figure of $6,000. So we thought that $3,000 might go a long way in helping her. She's a really dynamic leader of this board, and she's done great things so far, so I think this money will be just a huge resource, well spent, and really great for our city.
Just to follow up, Mr. Chairman, through you. So you feel that the $3,000 will enable us to view other boards and commissions that aren't presently being viewed?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
So we're going to vote on the main motion for all of these.
Correct. We're
On the main motion.
on the main motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budgets for account 4121, the Mayor's Office, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $294,033. Account 4122, General Expenses, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $368,023. Account 4123, Community Development, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $124,490. Account number 4129, the City Clerk's Office, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $402,082. Account 4131, Law Department, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $651,264. Account 4132, Ethics Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $800. Account 4133, Probate Court, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $16,944. Account 4141, Board of Finance, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $1,047.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budgets for account 4142, Permitting and Land Use, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $1,066,252. Account 4143, Board of Assessment Appeals, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $3,051. Account 4144, Zoning Board of Appeals, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $8,875. Account 4145, Pension Board, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $3,500. Account 4147, Flood and Erosion Board, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $903. Account 4147, Tree Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $1,621. Account 4151, Civil Service Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $200. Account 4153, Parks, Beach, and Recreation Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $600. Account 4155, Economic Development Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $1. Account 4156, Conservation Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $1,105. Account 4159, Veterans Ceremony and Parade Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $5,600. Account 4160, Housing Code Board of Appeals, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $300. Account 4161, Housatonic River Estuary Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $0. Account 4162, Open Space, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $66,347.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budgets for account 4193, Public Library, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $1,171,604. Account 4210, Finance Department, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $1,898,174. Account 4215, Management Information Systems, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $1,015,351. Account 4219, Human Resources, as recommended by the Board of Finance, with the following technical changes. On page 42, reduce grade step for Human Resource Generalist to $56,542 for a position total of $200,512. On page 41, account 41110000, regular wages reduced to $200,512, reduce 1/5 fiscal week to $1,000 for a new department subtotal of $22,713. $220,713, and a new department total of $234,492.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Giannattasio.
On the last account, 4219, can we get some clarification on the week of 1,000 for a new department subtotal of 220,713 and a new department total of 234,492? Through you to Mayor Blake, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In response to Alderman Giannattasio, this came up during our deliberations when we went through the different departmental budgets. Mr. Eridisi commented that one of the areas that we were going to have to make a technical change on was two different accounts. One is going to be the HR account because There was an internal candidate hired for Public Works, and we had made adjustments to the step changes. That internal candidate means that for the HR department, we will be hiring someone at not the top step, whereas at the Public Works department, the administrator position, that person will stay at the top step for our pursuant to our civil service rules and our union rules. So those are the two technical changes on the spending side that you'll see tonight.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I do recall that discussion, and thank you for the explanation.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budgets for account 4310, Police Department, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $13,311,694. Account 4320, Fire Department, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $12,017,473. Account 4331, Emergency Management, as recommended by the Board of Finance, an amount of $103,154. Account 4340, Animal Control, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $337,489. Account 4360, Lighting, Hydrants, and Water, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $2,002,000. Account 4420, Public Works Office, as recommended by the Board of Finance with the following technical changes. On page 64, increase grade step for Public Works Office Manager to $67,059 for a position total of $379,482. On page 63, account 41110000, regular wages, increase to $379,482, increase 1/5 of fiscal week to $1,893 for a new department subtotal of $384,375 and a new department total of $390,301. Account 4421, Highway Parks, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $2,749,789. $87. Account 4423, Building Maintenance, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $3,083,039. Account 4424, Engineering, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $344,128. Continue. Account 4429, General Garage, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $1,369,021. Account 4431, Solid Waste, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $4,198,376.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Gurman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I have a proposed amendment to street lighting 48450000, and I'm proposing to reduce it by $200,000 from $790,000 to $590,000 for a new department total of, or subtotal of $590,000 for a total department of $1,802,000 for a total. And the reason is because we're switching to LEDs throughout the city, and that should be substantial savings to our electric bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, I applaud Alderman Gurman's proposal. I am hopeful that next year we're going to be able to make that adjustments to this account. There's a couple of variables. One, they still have not finished relamping as of yet. They started about a month ago relamping our street lights. The hope is that it's going to yield that type of savings. That's what they have projected. But again, until we have the actual experience, I would just warn you for making such a big cut all at once. I would say that next year at this time, we're going to have almost a full year's worth of experience, but even as of July 1st, while I'm hopeful the entire city will be relamped, I am not positive on that. But I think that by this time, 2019, we will have a real clear understanding of what the savings is going to be. The projections that UI has given to the city, it should be $200,000, but again, there are still unknowns, and we don't have that experience yet, to go for the full $200,000 reduction.
Can I make an amendment to that adjustment?
So you're going to withdraw this one and make a separate one?
Withdraw this one and make a separate one. Mr. Chairman.
Nobody seconded. Go ahead. Go ahead, Alderman Gurman.
So we have a new amendment for street lighting. So instead of a $200,000 reduction, I'll do a $100,000 reduction. So to reduce it to $690,000 for a subtotal of $1,902,000 for a department total of $1,902,000. And I believe they'll be done, well, hopefully it'll be done by July for this budget. And yeah, the projection should be pretty substantial, so thank you.
Second?
Did you second it, Alderman Grant? Thank you.
Yes.
Amendment has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Giannatasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mayor Blake. Mayor Blake, do you feel that the $100,000 is more of a conservative cut at this point in time?
I do. Again, this board has been seen in the past that account has run short in the past. If we do run short, we could do a Board of Finance transfer. I think it is a more conservative number. The hope is that this year we'll realize at least that savings.
Thank you.
Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Alderman Gurman, who introduced, just so I understand, this is on account lighting hydrants and water. Can you just give me that item that you're looking, is it street lighting at $790,000, you're looking to reduce it by $100,000?
That is correct, Alderman
Okay.
Smith. It's account number again, 4845000, street lighting.
Page 62.
Page 62.
Got it, thank you.
It's a total of $790,000, proposing to reduce it to $690,000.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed?
No.
Roll call vote. Madam Secretary.
Alderman Anderson.
No.
Alderman Beatty.
No.
Alderman Fortunati. No. Alderman Gainer. Yes. Alderman Gurman. Yes. Alderman Giannatasio. Yes. Alderman Golden.
No.
Alderman Grant?
Yes.
Alderman Smith? Alderman Sutton?
No.
Alderman Tranquilli?
Yes.
Alderman Beccarelli?
No.
Alderman Vitro?
No.
Alderman Vitale?
Alderman Anderson.
It fails. 7-7, right? She fails, 7-7.
The vote was 7-7.
Mr. Chair, I would also like to switch to aye.
Alderman Anderson and Alderman Fortunati would like to switch to yes,
Yes.
correct?
Thank you.
Nine yes, 5 no, the amendment passes. On the original motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Beccarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budgets for account 4503, Public Debt Service, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $11,194,557. Account 4610, Health Department, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $919,684. Account 4620, Recreation Department, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $864,004. Account 4710, Employee Benefits, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $23,681,038. Account 4720, Insurance and Bonds, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $1,783,500. Account 4740, Claims and Refunds, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $615,000. Account 4790, Benefits and Salary Reserve, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $126,079. And last, account 4799, Unallocated Contingency, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $20,000.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Beatty? You have your light on. Okay. I'm sorry. With no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Veccarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budgets for account 4801, Council on Aging, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $1,369,298. Account 4803, the Fine Arts Council, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $70,000. Account 4805, CMed, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $76,993. Account 4807, Regional Mental Health Board, in the amount of $2,996. Account 4811, the Borough of Woodmont, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $233,000. Account 4812, Transit Authority, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $345,242. Continue.
Yes.
Account 4813, Bridges Healthcare, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $375,000. Account 4815, Veterans Graves, as recommended by the Board of Finance, the amount of $2,850. Account 4816, Milford Flotilla 73, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $9,000. Account 4817, Human Services Department, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $435,000. Account 4818, Historic District, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $650. Account 4819, Milford Progress, Inc., as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $7,500. Account 4820, Historic District 2, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $650. Account 4821, Health Services, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $12,000. Account 4822, Cemetery Association, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $9,250. Account 4825, Beth El Shelter, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $85,000. Account 4826, Boys and Girls Club, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $70,000. Account 4827, Literacy Volunteers of Southern Connecticut, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $5,000. Account 4828, Milford Preservation Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $650. Account 4992, Private School Textbooks, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $20,000. Account 4993, Education Audit Fees, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $22,300. Account 4994, School Debt, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $5,231,000. Account 4995, Education Employment Benefits, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $1,200,001.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Gaynor.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose an amendment to account number 4826, Boys and Girls Club, from a $70,000 to a new subtotal of $75,000.
Second.
Amendment has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
What was the amount? How much?
It went to $70,000 to $75,000. That was her proposal. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Amendment passes. On the original motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. On the original motion.
The amendment passed.
The amendment passed. You have another amendment? Go ahead with your other amendment.
I'd like to amend account 00104813 to an increase of $5,000 for a department total of $380,000. That's Bridges Healthcare. I did Bridges Healthcare Incorporated, 00104813.
How much was that, Alderman Vitale?
5,000.
5,000.
Second.
We have a motion on amendment and a second. Is there any discussion? Alderman Anderson.
Through you, sir, I'd like to ask the proposer when they last received an increase from this board. Was it last year or an earlier year? Do you recall?
No, I don't. You can see the figures there last year. It was a cut.
Okay, thank you.
Page 89.
You satisfied with that answer, Alderman Anderson? Yes. You're welcome. Alderman Giannatasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we're on the discussion of the amendment. I would like to rise in support of the amendment due to the fact of the opioid crisis that we all are affected by in this country. I think the $5,000 would show support, and I know that it affects all the communities across the country, and that's my reason for supporting it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Roll call vote, Madam Secretary.
Alderman Anderson. Alderman Beatty? Yes. Alderman Fortunati? Yes. Alderman Gainer? Yes. Alderman Gurman? Yes. Alderman Giannatasio? Yes. Alderman Golden? No. Alderman Grant?
Yes.
Alderman Smith? Yes. Alderman Sutton?
Yes.
Alderman Tranquilli?
Yes.
Alderman Beccarelli?
No.
Alderman Vitro?
No.
Alderman Vitale?
The vote was 11-3. The amendment motion passes. On the original amendment, original motion, we already passed the other amendment. On the original motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Alderman Veccarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budget for account 4996, Education Operations, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $93,235,155.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? Alderman Beatty.
I move to amend the Education Operations Account 4996 with the following changes. Account 4001-0000, a lump sum appropriation increased by $80,000 to $93,315,155 for a subtotal of $93,315,155 and a department total of $93,315,155.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a fervent supporter of the Board of Education budget, as you well know. My background, for a couple of years now, I've been looking at the budget, and we've been hearing during deliberations that I've been calling for some type of long-range physical plant planning as far as that was concerned, knowing that 6 out of our 8 schools, elementary schools, are under 300 kids, and 2 of the other 2 schools are 340 and 365, I believe, above 300. I would like to know that, being on the Permanent Schools Committee, that we're putting renovations, we're putting rooms on buildings and so forth, not really filling them up, decrease in enrollment on a yearly basis. And a motion was made last budget that somewhere in the vicinity of $700,000 was amended to the Board of Education last year, and that exact number was given back to the general fund. During the deliberations, we heard the fact that the budget is livable, they could live with it. My only concern was the fact that instead of maybe returning that $700,000 in addressing the projects that could have been a concern, which really didn't just happen in the last 180 days or 360 days, these 365 days, that some of the money could be well spent in addressing some of those problems and those projects. So having said that, that's why I can't, and I'm not in favor of increasing the Board of Education budget. I think that we need to very carefully, and using common sense, to look at what was said during the deliberations, and that the budget was livable, and that in the future that we need to know why are we putting more money into some of these schools that may not be around in the next 5 years. It's just a disaster as far as I'm concerned. And we've been putting a lot of money in renovations in the 3 middle schools. We're going through another big buck expenditure as far as hardening our vestibules because of safety, and we're all for that. So that will take care of 3 schools next year, and to increase that the year after at, again, a big price. And some of these schools really need to be worked on because they don't have the vestibules in their design that some of the new schools have, because they now have to build additional pieces onto the building, such as a Live Oak School or I'll use that as an example because it doesn't have that double entry. So I think we need to be very prudent in our decisions. So for those reasons, I would not be voting for this. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In our questioning of the Board of Ed, when we looked over the budget and we looked over their priority 1 and their priority 2s and the type of work that they wanted to try to accomplish, we would get probably none of the priority 2s. And I can't help but to bring back memories of when I was bringing my kids to school, and I would walk into some of the schools and, well, I just didn't have that feeling like I wanted to be there all day. I didn't have this smile on my face and said, this is a lovely place. There was a lot of things that were things just didn't, there was just a total patches, you know, patch here, patch there, the floors, the ceilings. I'm happy to see that we are now moving in the direction where our schools are, we can kind of be proud to walk in them now, and they're in much better shape. But nonetheless, many of the things that are on the list that the Board of Ed is hoping to accomplish, that they're not going to accomplish without this, at least the $80,000 that I would like to see them get, will make a better environment for the kids. It will improve the areas in which our children basically spend most of their lives. And so for that reason, I am in support of this, and I do fully hope that the Board of Ed will move forward with this extra spending to provide some of those prioritized items to be fixed in the school, and that to move forward on that. But I think this is money well spent, and for our children, going to those schools and giving them a better environment and improving the things rather than trying to do it all in 1 year. So while I know that it's $360 some odd thousand that is not in the Board of Finances that have been cut, the $80,000 I think that we can try to put back will improve the environment for the kids. Thank you.
Alderman Anderson.
I'd like to associate myself with the remarks of the Majority Leader, Alderman Vecchiarelli. I thought he did a very fine job in outlining reasons to vote for this. I'm certainly intending to vote for the amendment. When I look at Milford schools, the vast majority of those schools are elementary. There are 8 of them. We have invested in roofs and asbestos removal and done some grounds work at all of the different schools. But we've added classrooms at East Shore that desperately needed it, and now West Shore. It's the elementary schools that sort of get left out of the bag. So I would suggest to my colleagues that there were priorities that were outlined by the principals for Tier 1 and Tier 2 funding. The Board of Education, all 10 members voted unanimously for the $361,500 amendment to add to the superintendent's budget. By our voting for $80,000, it doesn't exactly, it shows good faith. That wasn't a unanimous vote on their part. We're showing good faith that we actually heard the Board of Ed and looking to do what's right by the schools, the children, parents, taxpayers. I urge your support of this amendment. Thank you.
Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you. I would just like to first make a comment. I believe that there's valid points on both sides. I think Alderman Vitale probably has the most experience, educational experience on the board, and makes some good points. And he has been asking, you know, for a long-range plan, and there's some, you know, there at some point we really need a plan overall. I think it'll help make our decisions a lot easier moving forward. The thing that Alderman Vecchiarelli mentioned, I also agree with too, but you know, he said fully hope, and we all hope that the money's going to be used for what we want it to be used for. So I think maybe if it's allowable through you, Mr. Chairman, if we can have Mr. Riccitelli come to the podium and maybe reassure us that this money will be spent in this manner. And furthermore, if it's not, for whatever reason, to Alderman Vitale's point, it will go back to the general fund. I think that overall might, you know, help us make a more educated decision.
Alderman Beatty.
I brought the motion forward, but I was speaking for my colleagues on the board, and so I reiterate what Majority Leader said and what Brian Anderson, Alderman Anderson, said so well, but I do have to repeat that was with careful deliberation that we came to this. As you know, it was $360,000 above the Finance and Mayor's decision that the Board of Ed requested, and it was for sundry physical plant improvements that are inevitable. The $80,000 is to get those started. It is some good faith appreciation that we need to have aging tiles and unair-conditioned spaces and Venetian blinds replaced. And we heard testimony from the Board of Ed, from the appropriate officials in town, and from parents about the need for these projects to get underway. So I think it was with very careful deliberation that we came to this decision, and I'd just like that to be a part of your awareness. We also heard and respected Alderman Vitale's request for the strategic plan and his ongoing concern year after year about low enrollments. That issue aside, these projects still are in the works. They're inevitable. They need to be done. We want to support at least getting them on the way to progress.
Alderman Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said very well about this, this proposal. And I was really appreciated when we had the Board of Education come in and talk about the Tier 1 and Tier 2 projects, because we have done a lot of investments into the schools, and these Tier 2 projects that will not be able to happen with the $361,000, but some of them can happen with the $80,000. They're not aesthetic projects. I mean, they are important projects that need to be done for the children And one that I actually want to highlight that I really hope does get included with the 80,000 is the air conditioners for the classrooms. I mean, as everybody knows, it's very difficult to learn or pay attention if you're in a hot building. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Alderman Fortunati.
Thank you. I'd just like to address Alderman Grant's comments. This is what I was going to add. I fully support this motion to restore this money to the budget. I was in the Orange Avenue School last month, and the principal showed me the two classrooms that they're seeking funding for air conditioning. And based on the location of the classrooms, there's no trees. It's right next to the asphalt parking lot. So these classrooms heat up anywhere on warm days up to 80 or 90 degrees. So I think we need to fund these kinds of projects. And all of us campaigned 7 or 8 months ago. We've spoken to parents and teachers and administrators. Education is a top priority, and as a board, we need to show our commitment to our schools. So this is a very conservative amount. It's less than a quarter of what the Board of Ed recommended. So I think it's something that we need to do, and I respectfully urge you to support it.
Alderman Tranquilli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I would just like to also say that I'm in favor of giving some funds back to the Board of Education to try to complete some of their Tier 2 or secondary projects. I'd like to see it a little closer to 60,000, but because of that, I don't think 80,000 is too much to give back. So I would like to say I'm in favor of the motion.
Any more? Alderman Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak also in favor of the motion. I believe the amount suggested by Alder Beatty is far from an irresponsible or far from a very high number, and it certainly will help to address those, as Alderman Vecchiarelli said, those quality of life issues in our school, where the children and the parents, what you see, how you feel in the school, and to somewhat of what Alderman Grant said as well, they're not all aesthetic projects, but they're projects about the school environment and helping the children as far as their experience day to day. So I wish to state my favor for the amendment.
Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this just gets back to what I first proposed. I would just like to know what the $80,000 would encompass. I don't disagree with what's being said, and I know it's not a lot of money, but I would just like to know maybe from Mr. Riccitelli what we can expect will be done, if it's the air conditioning or, specifically what we're voting on. So maybe when we go back to these schools, we will be pleasantly surprised and see some of these projects completed. And I ask that through you. Thank you.
Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would, we've already gone through this with the Board of Ed. We understand where they are with the funds that they could, what they're going to do with the funds with the, that the Finance Board has recommended. The lack of the $360,000 allows for none of the priority twos. The air conditioners, I believe, were priority twos. But in any event, I don't think that our board can micromanage this point with the Board of Education. We've spent a full night with the Board of Education, and we've asked them all of these questions. I've asked them, could all of the priority twos be done if we got the full $360,000 back? And the answer was yes. The problem is that we really are trying to keep our taxes down and trying to do the repairs that need to be done in a fashion where we can afford it, and it can be maybe even a little bit ongoing for a few years. But I just don't think we need to bring anybody up from the Board of Ed and ask them, are they going to repair the window, their 2 air conditioners, or this, that? It's micromanaging. They know what we want.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
With the $80,000, if when in next year's budget, when we get their budget and we open the book up and we see that some of these things that they've asked for have not been fixed that were really high on the list, that's when we can really start digging in and saying, and that's the time. But right now, we know where this money is supposed to be earmarked for, but there's nobody on this board that can tell the Board of Ed where to spend it. The only thing that we can do is okay a dollar amount. So even if somebody stands up here tonight and tells you,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm going to
point of
spend
order,
the money
please.
here or there, it's not our purview to see where they're going to spend this money. We can only look at it and hope that in our conversations with them, that this money will be earmarked for some of those improvements that they said they would like to get done. Thank you.
Alderman Giannatasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just asking the question, what's the expectation of the $80,000? Alderman Anderson mentioned that there's 8 elementary schools. We have $80,000 on the table. What can we expect from Mr. Riccitelli that will be done on this short list? That's all I'm asking. It's called transparency. I'm not telling them how to spend their money. I'm not asking them how to spend their money. I want to know what the expectation is. I believe all the taxpayers that are watching this budget right now live on TV and will continue to watch it will want to know the same answers. So I respectfully disagree with Alderman Vecchiarelli. It took him a long time to say what he had to say. I'm just asking for Mr. Riccitelli to address the board. Thank you.
Alderman Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I think that this is about having good faith, and Mr. Riccitelli is out in the audience right now, but I don't think that I think that we've already gone over everything that we need to go over. I think that with him sitting out there, he hears our concerns. And I also think that the $80,000 is really low in comparison to the $300,000. So we're trying to find a happy medium in there somewhere. At least maybe some of these projects will get started. He's heard our concerns. I have faith in the Board of Education, especially with them sitting out there, that they've heard us and that this will get done. So I don't think that there's a need to, circle back around and bring him up here when he's sitting right there.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Chairman, I know that there's a lot of discussion. I know that there has been some requests for Mr. Riccitelli to address the board. And again, I do not want to speak for Mr. Riccitelli, but I believe that the first thing he will say is that he cannot speak for the board, that it's a decision not to be made by a single person. It's a decision to be made by the entire Board of Education. So I agree with Alderman Vecchiarelli in the sense that this board state statute says that we cannot direct the Board of Education to adopt particular funding mechanisms. I understand that Alderman Giannatasio was not implying that. He was just looking for a little bit more clarification as to where the school system would prioritize those funds. My best guess is that Mr. Riccitelli will say that he will make recommendations, but he will also say that the Board of Education testified in front of this board through its chairperson, and they said that, and they took a vote, a unanimous vote, back when they adopted the budget, and they outlined exactly where, and actually it's in the appendices of the budget book, exactly where they were going to spend $360,000 above and beyond the administration's budget. So we at least have a narrow scope of where they're going to spend that $80,000. We don't know where within that $360,000 they're going to spend it. At this point, if you asked the 10 different members of the Board of Ed, they may give you 10 different answers. I think it's reasonable for them, at least within the scope of that $360,000 that they've already outlined, to put some faith in in that, though.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Out of courtesy to you, I let you speak. I was going to address Alderman Giannattasio in the same manner, in that I didn't want to put Mr. Riccitelli on the spot. I didn't want to entertain that, and just as you had said, he can't speak for the rest of the Board of Education anyways. But in good faith, like it's been said over and over again, we would hope that he would listen to our reasoning and our pleas and do as best he can with what he has. Is there any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Sutton.
I'd just like to further add that I think that in allocating this money to the Board of Education, having that idea of what the second-tier projects are, we have a superintendent, we have a Board of Education, we have Mr. Riccitelli, we have an administration across the street that are charged with prioritizing and assigning those dollars. And when we assign that amount of money to that organization or board, whether it's the Board of Education, whether it's MGAT, whether it's Bridges, we have an understanding based upon what we have read over the last several months of what they would do with the money should we allocate it to them, and not to second guess beyond that. I think that would be inappropriate. Thank you.
We're ready to vote on the amendment. Alderman Giannattasio, you only get 3 bites of the apple. You've already had 4.
Understood, Mr. Chairman. Well, let me rephrase the question. How's that? To the proponent of the amendment.
Giannattasio, in all fairness to the rest of the board, the rest of the aldermen, it's in the aldermanic rules. You only get 3 bites of the apple.
I understand.
I was more than courteous to you and gave you 4.
I understand.
That is it for this motion.
I understand. My purpose was for informational purposes only. My
You've
question.
already had
Okay.
you've already had your 4 opportunities
Okay.
to do
Can I
just
ask a question to the proponent of the
No,
amendment?
no. Question.
5-minute recess.
How's it going? How are you? Yeah, not bad.
I like that. I've always
Excellent. That was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. When he came out with it was after Allentown, so that's how long ago it was, maybe early 80s, 83, 84, saw him at the Civic Center.
That was awesome. I've never really been a concert person, actually.
I love music, but I like the smaller venues.
Yeah, me too. I never liked it when I was younger. I didn't like big concerts.
Yeah. I never went to Coliseum, but maybe twice. Something like that. I was in for it. But Steely Dan is one of my.
I saw Steely Dan at theater, maybe the Lincoln Theater.
Yeah, I was there.
You were?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember, like, maybe.
I have followed them for years, so I was probably there.
It was really good.
They're phenomenal.
And it was, and I loved it.
And that's before it was renovated.
I think so.
It
Yeah.
was chipping.
I don't think I've been there since.
They
I
got,
don't remember because I'm getting old. I don't remember.
it's now owned by, I think Sony bought it out and they renovated it. But the acoustics in that place are second to none.
I remember that it was a really good show.
And Pat Metheny used to be else in the hall. So,
All right, we're ready to vote on the amendment. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Alderman Anderson. Yes. This is on the amendment, correct?
Yes.
Alderman Beatty? Yes. Alderman Fortunati? Yes. Alderman Gaynor? Yes. Alderman Gurman? No. Alderman Gennatasio?
Yes.
Alderman Golden? Yes. Alderman Grant?
Yes.
Alderman Smith? Yes. Alderman Sutton?
Yes.
Alderman Tranquilli?
Yes.
Alderman Beccarelli?
Yes.
Alderman Vitro?
Yes.
Alderman Vitale? No. 12-2.
The vote was 12-2. The amendment passes.
The main motion, right?
Back to the main motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Alderman Veccarelli. I did. Alderman Veccarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budgets for account 4997, education health insurance contribution, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $19,265,575. Account 4998, education health services, school nurses, as recommended by the Board of Finance, in the amount of $1,316,193. There's been a correction that I've made according to the mayor on this, so the correction should be $1,316,193.
And Mr. Chairman, in the handout that everyone received, there was the wrong number inputted. The number that Alderman Veccarelli just read is correct.
Can you repeat that number again, Alderman Veccarelli?
$1,316,193.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve account. I think we're going to, vote on 9, then we'll go to 10 for the next one.
Okay. You heard the motion. Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve account 4154, the Sewer Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $1,703,708.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the budget for account 4426, wastewater, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $6,803,286.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the revenue and expenditures for account 0012-0000, sewer fund, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $8,506,994.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve expenditures and revenue for account 0036-4157, Harbor Management Commission, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $283,108.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve expenditures and revenue for account 00184121, golf course, as recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $84,488.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Before you move on to the revenues, I just wanted to provide you a little bit of background with some of the technical changes that Peter made. The changes to some of the revenue accounts came in light of the state budget. We have exact figures that were adopted by the legislature and the governor's office. Those increases from state revenue allowed us to adjust the fund reserve line item accordingly so that those match up, so that it's a net zero between those shifts of the revenue accounts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there anything else? Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve account 00100000, general fund revenue, as recommended by the Board of Finance, with the following technical changes. Account 3517-0000, education cost sharing, to $10,069,109 for a new state education grant subtotal of $10,186,455. Account 3643-0000, state realty, to $281,776. Account 3643-0001, State Realty Pequot, to $236,692. $690. I'm sorry. Account 36470000, private exemptions, $285,985 for a new subtotal of $941,336. Account 36590000, miscellaneous stat mun stabilization, $1,130,086 for a new subtotal of $1,240,086. Account 36590000. Did we do that one already?
3901. 3901.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're out here. Account 39010000, appropriated fund balance, $5,300,000 for a new subtotal of $5,300,000.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question through you to the mayor. Mr. Mayor, the revenue source, miscellaneous state municipal stabilization, that's a fancy name for what stream of revenue?
Mr. Chairman, it was a brand newly named grant last year. It's actually statutory municipal stabilization grant, and it is really not tied to anything, which worries me a little bit into the future, that that grant could disappear because it doesn't have a specific buy-in to any real revenue stream, or it's just to give us a little bit of extra money. Every municipality has a little bit different amounts depending on other grants that they received, but that's the amount that we received this year.
Thanks so much for the explanation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Anderson, Alderman Anderson. At this point,
So we're going to take a recess until the director gets it, right?
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think if you could approve those revenue figures, and then we would recess or temporarily allow some time for our finance director to calculate the final numbers and the final mill rate.
Sure will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. At this point, the finance director will provide final total once current taxes account 311-0000 is calculated. We will take a recess until that calculation is provided.
Ask for it.
I want to take this time to thank Alderman Vecchiarelli for the fantastic job he did reading all those motions.
Very well done.
Good job, Alderman Vecchiarelli. Will the aldermen please take their seats? Thank you. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, an ordinance establishing a budget for the City of Milford for fiscal year 2018-2019, setting the mill rate and establishing a due date in accordance with the provisions of the Connecticut General Statutes and the Charter of the City of Milford. Whereas the Board of Finance of the City of Milford has made estimates of the income and the amount of money necessary to appropriate for the expenses of the City of Milford for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2018 and ending June 30th, 2019, and has classified such expenses under appropriate heading departments appropriations as more fully appears in the proposed fiscal budget submitted to the Board of Aldermen in accordance with Article 6, Section 2 of the Charter of the City of Milford. And whereas the Board of Aldermen, having met and conducted a public hearing, has considered the proposed fiscal budget and has made changes therein pursuant to Article 6, Section 3 of the Charter of the City of Milford. Whereas the Board of Aldermen in its deliberations and voting on said budget has estimated revenues for the 2018-2019 fiscal year in the amount of $210,195,255 and has authorized appropriations for the 2018-2019 fiscal year in the amount of $210,195,255. Now therefore be it, and it is hereby ordained and enacted by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Milford as follows: that the proposed fiscal budget for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2018 and ending June 30th, 2019, as amended by the action of the Board of Aldermen pursuant to law, is hereby adopted and ordered to be filed with the City Clerk. That taxes for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2018, ending June 30th, 2019, at a rate of 27.74 mils upon the rateable estate within limits of the City of Milford are hereby laid and levied to meet the expenses of said budget. Said mill rate is set on the prediction that it is estimated that $394,925 of said levy will be granted to elderly exemptions, state of Connecticut. $775,784 will be granted for local tax relief programs for the elderly. $434,802 will be granted for local tax relief programs for the veterans, and of 97.85% of the resulting levy will be collected during the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2018, and ending June 30th, 2019. Yes, did I? Excuse me, that is $435,802 will be granted. That's for the local program for the veterans. 97.85% of the resulting levy will be collected during the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2018, and ending June 30th, 2019. Said taxes shall be paid on the grand list of October 1st, 2017, and shall be due and payable on July 1st, 2018, provided that if said tax of any person shall exceed $200, the first installment thereof, but not less than 1/2 of the amount of such taxes, shall be due and payable on the first day of July 2018, and the remainder due and payable on the first day of January in 2019. But any taxpayer may pay the total amount of tax for which he or she is liable at the time when the first installment shall become payable. Such tax rate shall apply to all districts of City of Milford. The taxes to be raised are $177,221,271. The total appropriation is $210,195,255, and the total revenue is $210,195,255. This ordinance shall take effect in accordance with the Charter of the City of Milford.
Thank you, Alderman Beccarelli. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, we got, hang on. I thought I wanted to make sure everybody's awake, including me. The motion is made in will you have a second? Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Aldermen, for the great work that you have done. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, before you adjourn, I just want to say quickly, congratulations to the board. Third consecutive tax cut in a row. You guys did a lot of heavy lifting, good work in order to bring in this very responsible budget, as well as to provide the services that the citizens of Milford have come to expect. So well done. And I know that a lot of people are happy that you continue on this prudent path. So, nice job.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you and the Finance Director, Peter Iragishi, for all the work that you guys do. Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I would like to thank you for your leadership as Chairman of the Board and Alderman Viccarelli and working with Mayor Blake at the leadership meetings. I am proud to vote in favor of this budget as proposed. It meets all the public health, safety, education, and city services. It's a very responsible budget, and I'm proud to be from Milford and call Milford my home. This is the place where we do things bipartisanly, so I'm happy to, be here at this time and hope that good things happen in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Giannatasio. You got my vote. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion adjourned. Regarding account solid waste.